on a sit-down strike over what they describe as unfair treatment by management.
I have worked for 34 years. I should have gone through about 15 or more. You are supposed to be promoted every 4 or 5 years.
We'll bring you details as the president directs engagement with organized labor to end the strikes. Coming up in sports.
We'll bring you views of Ghana track and field legend Leo Miles Mills, who speaks about Joseph Polamwa, who would also be competing in 2 events at the World Athletics Championship this Friday.
And much later here on the Midday News, former Suhum MP Frederick Oparian is optimistic he will unseat John Bwedu as General Secretary of the NPP.
Scan the aspirants and let us see who has what it takes to deliver the party to where we want to go. Okay.
We have details of these stories and more in this half-hour package. Please stay with us. Thanks for choosing us. This is the home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. I'm Ernest Manu. This afternoon, there's an anxious wait for food supplies in senior high schools across the country. Students are hungry and forced to feed on the little available. In barely 24 hours, heads of second cycle schools in the eastern region will be making a strong push for a shutdown, insisting running the schools have become a Herculean task. The situation is not any different in other schools. In the Upper West region, schools are yet to receive the food promised them by the Ministry of Education. Rafiq Salam reports from Wa.
The alarm bells at the West Senior High Technical School, fixed on a rooftop of one of the classes, sounded for about 30 seconds and followed with announcement for supper.
It's time for supper.
The students responded and went into the dining hall in droves, already aware of the imminent food shortage at the school.
Since the food have been shortage, we have been suffering from our school. Even our studies is not going normal. As there is in the normal breakfast, when we go to take breakfast, there is not even a little drop of sugar. There is not any sugar for we normally take it all out, which is affecting us.
Some of us like this, when we are coming, we are not able to get money to buy gari, sugar, and millet and those things. So as we are in school right now, studies is really difficult for us.
In fact, we are really dying. Most of our students are not even yet reported because of the shortage of food.
The students say the menu has not been altered due to the imminent food shortage. Authorities at the school only cook for them the food that is available at their store.
For the past 2 months, we have been taking TZ as supper. Every evening we are taking TZ. Now when you look at it, just today.
What were you taking?
We're taking, normally we used to take Banku, we used to take TZ, but nowadays it's only TZ.
From the Upper West region, let me take you now to the Central region, where Richard Kojo reports that schools are borrowing from their neighboring schools that have more in order to feed their students. Richard, what more are we learning about this situation?
Well, sir, I'm yet to receive any. There is arrival about to it, but everything with my story that to start school. So.
Apologies, we have a terrible line to Richard Kojo, our Central Region correspondent. We'll be joining him shortly for details of what is happening in the Central Region. But before that, let's go to the Upper East Region and speak to correspondent Albert. Sorry, Albert, there's some good news in the region, but is that the situation for all schools? Have they all received food items as we speak?
Yes, Ernest. So it is unclear if all the schools have received the supplies that came yesterday afternoon. What we know is that a number of them in the municipality, from the Sirigu Integrated Senior High School to Bolgatanga Institute, have all received a number of bags of rice, maize, and millet. The challenge is that other items like oil and canned mackerels and tomatoes, which will help them to prepare the meals for the students, have not yet come. And so my source at the regional executive of CHAS says that normally when this happens, the headmasters together with the matron staff will have to find a way to manage and feed the children until the other supplies arrive.
Thank you very much. That's our Upper East Region correspondent, Albert. Sorry, let's return to the Central Region. Richard Kojo, you were giving us an update on the situation on the ground.
Well, so Ernest, I was telling you that I'm yet to receive any indication that there is an arrival of food in the schools, and the heads have had to resort to other innovative means of ensuring students are fed and fed well. So they fall on sister schools for commodities they do not have. So if they don't have gari, then they call the other school and then they get that. But for now, because of the quality and the quantity issues, many students have had to depend more on the food in their chop boxes. They end up demanding more from their parents than they would have done usually.
What can you say about the kitchen staff? Are they available to even help manage the little that the schools have?
Well, some of them are not there from the checks I did in some of the schools. So the school authorities have hired some few hands to support them in order to feed the kids.
That's Richard Kojo, who is our Central Region correspondent. Let's head to the Ashanti region now. We're joined by Emmanuel Bright Kweku for the very latest. Emmanuel, we understand that schools are buying their own food while some schools are feeding students just once a day. Tell us more.
All right, so Ernest, here in the Ashanti region is the same situation in the other regions. The schools are yet to receive their meals. I spoke with a headmaster this morning. He told me actually that they have no food in the stores of the school. So they are short of milk, they are short of sugar, rice, and the rest. So the students are currently on their own, they are feeding. So hopefully, we are hoping that by the end of the day, they will receive something by the ministry.
Meanwhile, educationist Professor Ivan Adai-Mensah says government must urgently decentralize food supply to schools. He also believes if the free SHS program is not reviewed to allow some students pay fees or parents to pay for their students, the situation will only get worse.
I don't see why schools in Bogatanga, Navrongo, Tumu should wait for buffer stock to give them supplies ostensibly from Accra before they can feed children. So, first of all, the heads should be given the freedom and the prerogative to run their schools. After all, if they are heads, they are supposed to be good in management. They should be given the chances of this micromanagement that goes from all the time from a centralized position. People always talk of the possibility of heads being corrupted. Of course, there may be a few cases, but majority of heads are very honest and they care about their school children. You also have to make sure that this policy, which now government seems to be thinking of accepting, that those who can pay should be allowed to pay. The schools will always have some money to keep the schools running, whilst whatever is due from government will come in. If children are paying for their own feeding. Tuition has always been free since Kwame Nkrumah.
You have the educationist, Professor Ivan Adai-Mensah. John Hughes made efforts to reach the Ministry of Education as well as the Buffer Stock Company, but that has not been successful. Once we get them, we'll bring you their side of the story. Let's turn our attention to Parliament now. There could be a parliamentary by-election in the Dome-Kwabena constituency anytime soon because John Hughes can exclusively report that the Privileges Committee will formally recommend to the House and the Clerk of Parliament to declare the seat vacant. The embattled MP Sarah Joasafo failed to appear before the committee to offer reasonable explanation for her absence. Chairman of the committee, Joe Osewusu, spoke to my colleague, Eme Fapao.
Offered her every opportunity that there was. We have advertised, we've sent letters to her registered address in Parliament, we've posted some on her known social media handles, we've advertised in the national newspapers on she did not appear before the committee. So the responsibility is on her to take advantage of the opportunity and explain why she was absent for 15 sittings without permission. She did not take the advantage of the opportunities given her. So her vacation of Parliament is a matter of course. It's automatic. The committee doesn't have to say that leaves, no.
It doesn't look like she's willing to vacate her seat. What then happens in Parliament?
Well, it does not lie in your mouth, the person who has fallen foul of the Lord.
So the Speaker or the plenary or the clerk is supposed to now declare that seat vacant? What exactly will happen?
In accordance with the law, it is for the clerk to declare or to inform the electoral commission that the vacancy has occurred. That is what the Constitution says. That's what our report will reflect to the House.
That was Chairman of the Privileges Committee of Parliament, Joe Sewusu, in that interview with my colleague MFR Powell. Parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante joins me with more on this. Kweku, we understand the minority members on the committee are reacting already. They have concerns about this conclusion that will soon be communicated to the plenary.
So according to the minority members who are on the committee, this is not the decision the committee took. They contend that their decision was in respect of Kennedy Ejapon and Henry Korte, who by a majority vote have been pardoned because their explanations were satisfactory. They are telling me that the decision on Sarah Adwoasafo was to report back to the House that the committee decided and tried several times to reach her, even by video conferencing, but she did not make herself available, so that the Speaker and then the House can take a consequent decision on what to do with her. And so they are surprised that the chairman of the committee is going out and claiming that the seat has been declared vacant, and then the clerk must take that decision to that effect.
We'll be monitoring this and bring you more in our subsequent bulletins. That's parliamentary correspondent Kweku Asante. Now, former chief of staff during the Kufuor administration has called for the resignation of the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. Kojo is firm in his conviction that the utterances of the minister before government decided to seek the intervention of the International Monetary Fund makes him unfit to continue with the role. He's not alone in this demand, as several, including the minority in parliament, are asking same. Speaking on Joy News, Mr. Mpianim says he's concerned about the performance of some of the ministers, but insists a reshuffle is the sole prerogative of the president.
Actually, it's a prerogative of the president to say whether a person is efficient or not. But even if you sit out, if you are not in there, you'll be able to know whether a minister is performing well or not. All of us sitting out, not out of government. I believe if you ask a Ghanaian, they'll be able to tell you this minister A or Minister B must go, because we don't see effectiveness of such a minister. So it concerns me, and I believe it is something which must be done. But it's the prerogative of the president. If he believes that all these people are working well, fine. But a listening president also be trying to find out even what the people think. You see, the national security also helps the president, because they listen to people's concerns, and these concerns are conveyed to the president. So it's left to the president to make his mind.
If you had the opportunity to advise the president, what would you advise?
I would advise him to drop some of the ministers and maybe bring in some of.
Do you mind sharing with us some of them he should drop? Who would you want dropped?
No, it's not fair for me to sit on. Honestly, if I were the finance minister, this is a question of President dropping. From my utterances, and then what is happening, I will just go, Mr. President, thank you so much. I think it's best for me to sit back for another person to take over.
The majority leader, Oseche Mensah-Bonsu, at a public forum at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, suggested a reduction in the number of ministers. According to him, fewer ministers than currently exist will lower the pressure on the public purse. But the former chief of staff, Kojo disagrees.
This whole discussion, I believe, is centered on the cost. And therefore, I believe that we would rather look at the cost. How do you reduce the cost? But if you go to set up artificial limits as to a 19, a 20, or whatnot, I think you are limiting the president as to how he must govern the country. The whole world is dynamic and things change. So if you're going to put it in a law that I should only have, say, 19 ministries, and maybe you even release the ministries, the world changes. So it comes to a time when you say some of the ministry even you may not need.
You had the former Chief of Staff, Kojo Mpianim. Now, in a related development, Afrobarometer survey on economy, public services and taxation says majority of Ghanaians believe the country is heading in the wrong direction. Respondents also provided negative assessment of the country's economic condition and their personal living conditions. A fellow with the CDD, John Osai Kwapon, says the development calls for a reshuffle of government. Let's turn our attention now to the Labour Front. Information available to Joy News indicates indicate a crunch meeting between the acting Commissioner General of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority and some senior officers to avert a possible sit-down strike by the personnel. They are unhappy that officers who participated in and passed promotion exam have still not been upgraded, although the available vacancies. The situation is compelling them to lay down their tools at some sensitive collection points across the country. My colleague Elton Bobe joins me in the studio with more on this. Elton, what more are we learning about this tension and the impending strike?
So, Ernest, according to our sources, the management is refusing to promote the officers even though they have attained the pass mark of over 70% required for promotion in a recently conducted exercise. As a result, the Customs Staff Association on 13 June 2022 filed a right to information request for management to furnish the association with the raw scores of all candidates. However, in a response dated 5th July 2022 from the management refused to provide the requested information, citing a potential breach of Data Protection Act 2012. Now, another reason is that the Customs Staff Association claims management of GRA has refused to comply with two judgments of the Supreme Court which prohibit officers from forming or joining labor unions. Despite these judgments, the GRA, according to the workers, is said to have ignored calls by the Customs Staff Association to stop deducting labor union dues from salaries of custom officers for the benefit of the Public Service Workers Union and the Ghana Revenue Authority workers. Again, the officers are angered by the actions of management for allegedly engaging in the practice of awarding contracts to retired officers to the detriment of serving officers.
Interesting details there. My colleague Elton Brobe with details of why the workers there are the Internal Revenue Authority of the GRA are threatening to embark on the strike action. We've been to the grounds. My colleague Michael Papani-Ashale joins me on the line with more. Michael, where have you been and what have you gathered so far?
Good, Ernest. At the moment, I'm at the Customs Division of the Ghana Airport Company, where anybody clearing goods, goods coming in, goods coming out, that's exactly where you have to make payments before they go. I've been gathering a lot. The officers here, especially the senior officers, are agitated over the inability of the service to promote some of them who are due promotion. Some of them tell me that they've been due for promotion for the last 8 years, some as more as 12 years. But that hasn't happened, and they are here to make sure that their agitations are heard. I understand that the Commissioner of Police, I beg your pardon, the Commissioner in charge of the Customs Division is around as well and trying to calm the nerves of the people. But as it stands now, they've been on the strike for 12 hours now.
I have worked in customs. I was brought into customs November 1988, just after my A-level national service. I have worked for 34 years. I should have gone through about 15 or more because ideally you're supposed to be promoted every 4 or 5 years. Now, I entered as a junior officer. I motivated myself, went to university, and then I got my first degree in year 2001. How many years now? 22 years now. If I'm to go through a promotion ladder, up the promotion ladder every 4 or 5 years, how many ranks should I be making by now? If it's 4 years,
it should be
5 ranks.
Yeah.
Are you getting me? No, 2-star, 3-star, crown, and this.
So that's a staff there interacting with my colleague Michael Papani-Ashale. And there's another development on the labor front at the Ghana Port and Harbours Authority. Elton is still with me in the studio. Elton, they have some concerns. What are they?
So they are protesting against the Meridian Port Service, that's MPS GPHA concession agreement signed in 2015. They already clad in red attire, and the workers contends that the refusal of MPS to cede 20% container business to GPHA had been having dire impact on the workforce since 2019. My information is that the Ministry of Transport officials already there trying to get the workers to go back to work while they deal with these matters.
And we're keeping tabs on this story. We'll bring you more as and when we do. This is the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. But still on the labor front, we are learning that President Akufo-Addo has directed the Finance and Employment Ministries to resolve all outstanding issues with organized labor. The Fair Wages and Salaries Commission will meanwhile meet all interested parties in the agitations for cost of living allowance for a resolution by 1 p.m. We'll bring you more in our subsequent bulletins. Still to come, Former Suhum MP Frederick Oparian is optimistic he will unseat John Boadu as General Secretary of the NPP.
Scan the aspirants and let us see who has what it takes to deliver the party to where we want to go. Okay.
When you want to eat, just Momo it. Tired of the long queues in the supermarket? Pay with Momo. When you really want that beautiful new blouse, just Momo it. When you want to get a trim and get fresh to impress you know who, just Momo it. When you need to pay your utility bills and domestic staff, Chani Momo. When you want to send love to the family back home, send some Momo. Join the millions of MTN Momo users all over Ghana and live life the brighter way. So just Momo it. MTN.
Yama Wakwaba, ba Akwaba Magic Ebusia, brand new channel, Tia Roba, Emuno Tiao, Ewo DSTV channel 149, and Go TV channel 108. Enianom Akwaba Magic Ebusia, Eddie Nidia Ghanaian programs mu Baufi, Ebi to set the day, to have and to hold, and Yom Senior Cassia, series and talk show, Bemo Wakao TV sets Nichi, Akwaba Magic Ebusia, Ewo DSTV access to your 50 Ghana cedis per and Go TV value to your 25 Ghana cedis per Ebusia, Akwaba.
The MPP is poised to break the 8.
The party elects new national executives to lead the charge.
Your election headquarters has assembled the best political team
on radio, television, and online to bring you the most comprehensive coverage.
The Joy News special build-up series will focus on the key candidates and positions.
Friday, July 15, will bring you the Election Eve special from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m.
with Winston Amwa and myself live on Joy News.
We'll bring you unmatched coverage of the National Delegates Conference at the Accra Sports Stadium
from 9 a.m. till the final results are declared. Only on Joy News, your election headquarters.
Thanks for staying with us here on the Midday News. Time now to find out the latest in sports. Oreko Ampofo is here.
Well, thank you very much, Ernest. And Leo Miles Mills, who was Ghana's first man to run a 100-meter event under 10 seconds, has thrown his weight behind Joseph Polamwa ahead of the World Athletics Championships. Polamwa, who currently holds the national record for the 200-meter event with a time of 20.576 seconds, 20.57 seconds, is also the second fastest man in 100 meters, just behind Benjamin Azamati. Now, Amwa would have the privilege of competing in both the 100-meter and 200-meter event at this year's Athletics Championships in Oregon. And Leo Miles Mills believes that the 25-year-old has what it takes to succeed, but he needs to be well prepared.
It's a big challenge. It's a big challenge. Joe is not a small kid. He's an adult. He's a big boy. Running the 9 seconds, you're no longer in the lousy field. Yeah. He just have to manage his strength well. You don't want to go out too strong, yet you don't want to go out too slow either. Yeah. But you want to apportion your strength so you can have some energy to come back. You know, because I mean, this is a back-to-back, for him at the World Championships. It is not. This is no more college. I mean, that's great for him. That's great for him too. I mean, it will boost him. It will boost his morale, and he just has to plan well.
The World Athletics Championship starts tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Oreku, for bringing us the latest in sports. Let's do politics now. The former Member of Parliament for Suhum constituency, Frederick Opariansa, has indicated he is optimistic about becoming the next General Secretary of the party. The former Minority Chief Whip noted that his message of motivation has resonated with the rank and file of the NPP. He's hopeful he will win this weekend.
Frederick Opariansa served as NPP MP for 16 years and for a period was on the front bench of the NPP caucus in Parliament as a Chief Whip. He is embarking on the daunting journey of unseating incumbent General Secretary John Boadu. According to Opariansa, of all the aspirants vying for General Secretary, he is the person with what it takes to lead the party into the future.
the interest of delegates should be where the party is today. Scan the aspirants and let us see who has what it takes to deliver the party to where we want to go. Okay, I mentioned a short while ago about the fact that the General Secretary's office of the party is the place where, if you like, a clearinghouse where all these various entities, the office of the organizer, the office of the women organizer, everybody passes.
And you want to stay with your election headquarters as we bring you a special coverage of the delegates conference beginning tomorrow evening with head of our political desk, Evans Mensah and Winston Amwan. Now, data from government indicates that about 1.2 million housing, there's about 1.2 million housing deficit in the country. This means thousands of houses have to be built each year to be able to bridge the gap. Can you wait for your turn? Well, perhaps not. The 13th edition of the EcoBank Joy News Habitat Fair has been launched today to provide you a solution. Head of General Manager in charge of Marketing and Sales, Max Fuga, has been telling us what to expect this year.
We'll have the seminars, themed seminars that will educate people and also give people the opportunity to ask questions as to where they want to live and what factors should influence them in choosing the place they want to live.
And you had the General Manager in charge of Sales and Marketing here at the Multimedia Group. Stay tuned, we'll bring you details of this year's fair. Researchers from the KNUST, in collaboration with the research in the tropical medicines, have revealed in a recent study that the majority of hairdressing tools sampled from salons across the Kumasi metropolis are contaminated with drug-resistant germs, and there's the need to sterilize. Here's a report from Joy News' medical correspondent, Dr. Netta Passam.
The study sought to determine how much knowledge, if any, hairdressers and their clients have on the risk of picking up infection from the salon.
The tools were contaminated with bacteria such as Staph aureus, coagulase negative Staph, E. coli, Bacillus species, Micrococcus species, and Aspergillus species. And then all the bacteria were found to be resistant to the antibiotics that were used to test them. I mean, highly resistant.
Of course, based on the findings, now we can definitely say that these microorganisms are present. So education is very, very important. Secondly, is to introduce some level of sterilization of these equipments within the barbering shops and salons.
And that's a report by our medical correspondent, Dr. Netta Passam. Then just before we go here on the Midday News, our drive tip for today: driving while distracted or drowsy can have deadly consequences. Follow these steps to stay alert on the highway. Get enough rest to avoid fatigue. Long distance driving is hard work and you need to be fresh and alert. Also avoid long driving at night. The glare of light both on your dashboard as well as outside your car can make you very sleepy. You need to stay alert on the highway. And that's it for the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. We have more stories when you log on to myjoyonline.com. I'm Ernest. Up next is Living Word with Dr. Mensa Otabel.
Isn't life wonderful when everything worth doing is scheduled? Hitting the stop button on your alarm just in time for your morning jog. That happy moment listening to your baby's heartbeat at the doctor's office. Or an arranged virtual meeting with that big client.
Buy airtime ahead of time with scheduled airtime service on MTN Momo. You can schedule your airtime purchase of any amount daily, weekly, or monthly by dialing *170# option 3 and follow the process. Or simply dial *170*311# for a superb airtime purchase experience. You enjoy 100% bonus airtime anytime you recharge yourself with MTN Momo. Keep on talking with that 100% feeling. So, what are we doing today?
MTN.
The middle of the year is here. EGL mid-year promotion with NASCO, Toshiba, Media, and Samsung. You can find anything you're looking for. From July with $1,399, you can grab yourself a Samsung television. Tell your mama with $1,599, you can grab yourself a Media washing machine. With $1,899, grab yourself a Media gas cooker. Samsung refrigerators ranging from single door, double door, side-by-side French doors, and more. Toshiba microwave solo, and many more. your one-stop home of electronic and home appliances with Electroland Ghana Limited. The latest are always available. For more info, call 0242